bridge.
I don't know whether I won the bet.
That was not the question.
How about the bridge?
It lost.
Anybody know Tingsboro Bridge?
Yes.
Well, Tingsboro Bridge crosses the Merrimack River, unfortunately. And I was accustomed to flying down along the river, because over the river, if there weren't any boats or people in the water, I could fly at 50 feet, no problem. And it wasn't against the law. As soon as you get off the waterway, you might say, and we're on land, you were supposed to immediately go to 500 feet. And of course, naturally, I like to fly low. I had been, if some of you people may have known, I had been a pilot in the war, and I was in heavy bombers, 4-engine bombers, and we flew at 28,000 feet. You couldn't see anything, you know. And I was so irritated by the fact that I had flown all those years at that altitude, and never enjoying it, really. I mean, it was just a lot of hard work, long hours. I mean, the flights were 8 hours to 10 hours or 12 hours. And, they would just wear you out, really. So at any rate, when I get out of the service at Stapleton Field in Denver, Colorado, another captain and myself we bought 12 airplanes, 12 from the Air Force, and they were down in Arizona in the desert where all the planes were that they suddenly become surplus now because the war was over. And I was getting out, and I wanted to fly back to home when I was going home, you know, for good. So we sold 10 of the 12 airplanes within, probably a month or two at the most. And I kept one, and the Captain Bukowski kept the other one as our profit on the deal. So I got in this TT-19 open cockpit airplane, December 3rd or 4th. It's winter in Denver. Of course, we had a little snow on the runways, but we had hard runways and they plowed them. So I was able to take off all right, but I swore I didn't want to go over 1,000 feet all the way home. I was so sick of altitude. And make a long story short, I was doing very well until I got to Massachusetts. Great Barrington, Massachusetts. And I had just left Pennsylvania. I forget the name of the airport there, but in northeast Pennsylvania. I had gassed up, and I had 45 gallons in each wing tank. And I landed at Great Barrington. Unfortunately, they had about 12 inches of snow, and their planes were on skis. And now I'm landing on wheels on a runway with 4 or 5 inches of snow still there, because they didn't plow the runways because they were all on skis. Those type of people, you know. So I landed, and of course the plane dug into the snow pretty quick, and I was able to stop without nosing over, knowing I was into a problem. But I had no alternative, because the mountains, right from Great Barrington to Springfield, what are the Berkshire Mountains. And at any rate, I pulled in, and they finally had to tow my plane in with a tractor because the snow was too deep where they didn't plow it. And I was there overnight, and I stayed at a local inn at Great Barrington. they told me it's going to be snowing in the morning. I said, well, I'm going to go early and I'll get out of the way. Don't worry about it. He said, hey, runway won't be plowed. I said, well, I'll figure that out as I go. At any rate, I did get in the plane, and I was a little low on gasoline. I didn't want to gas up there because I knew with the weight, the added weight, getting over the Berkshires might be a little challenging. So I got at the beginning of the runway with my foot brakes on full power. I gave the throttle to it full power, and the tail even picked up a little, and I started down the runway, and I was doing it. I knew I was doing it just for a test. I wanted to break a track in the snow before I got to the 4-foot fence down at the end. So sure enough, I stopped in time. I didn't try to take off. I made a track coming back in the same tracks, hopefully as well as I could, because I knew that would give me more speed on my next shot. Sure enough, holding on the brakes full power, and I just cleared that 4-foot fence at the end, and I said, boy, I'm on. Well, I get into the Berkshires, and of course now I didn't want to go above the clouds because it was snowing a little, and the next thing happened is I knew I was making turns below to stay below the clouds, but I was running into mountains that were getting higher as I went, and I was a little concerned about that because I wasn't prepared to fly instrument because they didn't have any instruments. You do involve it, but not in an open cockpit airplane to speak of. So sure enough, I was really getting very worried, particularly knowing that I was running on fuel, on very low fuel. And finally, I spotted a brook in the mountains as I was flying along, and I said, oh boy, I hope that brook is flowing east, because that's where I'm headed. If it's flowing west, I'll never make it, because that's where I came from. And sure enough, it was flowing east. And I made it into West Springfield Airport. It wasn't in Springfield West. I landed there. They had plowed the runway. And I landed, and I felt great. Boy, I knew I was low, and I had to keep switching tanks to make sure I had enough gas to keep it a little level for me. And as I was taxiing